So basically I have one big square that is 10 inch square. I have two small ones that are 5¼ inch each, two that are 2 inch square inch each, and one that is 3½ inch big. So basically first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to do the crease on this one. So I'm going to find some center by just pressing it in half like this. So I'm going to mark this line that is going to be my guide for the center. This is going to be serving for the center triangle that is going here. And we can immediately do that one, the center one. So first, just place the wrong side up of your square, then hold it in half like this. Press. You can use steam if you want. Then what is important, now you're going to also find the center of this one like this. You can also press it, but it's okay even like that. And we're going to use this line or crease just to fold these corners toward that line. So we are going to press both corners in center toward the raw edge. And we are going to nicely press it. You can additionally use a piece of the fusible webbing. You can place it on close to the raw edge in order to nicely and firmly close the triangle. And nobody's going to know that it's even there. So now you have the triangle, and I'm going to put it in the center. So I'm going to find the line, the crease line, and I'm going to place it on that one here. So we have defined our central triangle. Now it's easy because we're going to use these squares, wrong side up. We're going to press it just diagonally, each of these squares, like this. So raw edges outside, the folded one inside, this is this one, and also it's the same for this one. This is going to be on the other corner. So just I'm pressing it diagonally. Okay, maybe not so well. Okay, like this. And using my steam on the iron to press it nicely. Okay, so now we have these bigger triangles, the bottom ones, that is defining the bottom of our heart. And we're going to clip it in place like this. It's very important that we have this little overlapping on the bottom because of the seam allowance. So now we have left two smaller ones, so wrong side up, and press it diagonally, each of these. You can also use some webbing, iron on webbing for this, if you want to have the triangles that are closing nicely without opening. So you can just put it somewhere inside and press. And now we're going to position them in the upper corners. So I'm going to use a little bit of fusing here as well. I'm pressing it. And now we have actually our heart block. I'm calling it origami because of this central one that is actually like a little origami triangle. And if you want, you can also use these triangles on the corners. You can also cut them, and you can actually piece them like regularly, just sew on the crease. So on all 4 diagonal lines, do this one, this one, this one, and this one. Actually, this is what I'm going to do next in order to show you both ways, because the measurements for both techniques or ways are the same, so it's very convenient here. So while the first technique is completely sew-free, if you want to keep quilting a bit less bulky, maybe you'll prefer to do the 4-corner triangles in traditional way by sewing on the diagonal line, and it's basically the crease line. And the only thing is that you want to sew just a little bit toward this side, toward the corner, so not toward this side. So now that I did the sewing on the diagonal lines, I'm just going to cut. I'm keeping the seam allowance 1/4 of an inch here and also here. So I'm just going to finger press the seam allowance. So as I like my seam allowances to be open pressed, I'm just going to press it on the wrong side, flip it on the right side and press again. I will do the same with this little corner triangle here. So I'm going to finger press the seam allowance and then I'm going to press. I'm not using my steam for this kind of pressing, so just I'm firmly pressing it like this on the wrong side and then again from the right side. Okay, so now we have our traditional corners done on this one, and now I'm going to do on the other side. So I'm going to open this, put it on the corner, and I'm going to sew on this line, and I'm going to do the same for this little triangle here. So now that all 4 corners on this one are sewn, I'm still going to cut this little 2. So I'm just doing like 1/4 of an inch of the seam allowance, cutting this one too. So I'm finger pressing first. I'm doing the open seam allowance as I said before because I just preferred it. I just prefer that way. Okay, here and another one here. You can press the seam allowance any way you prefer, so it's really up to you. Okay, so now I'm just going to, I also sewn this little triangle on the center, just very close to the raw edge, just to keep it in place. Now I'm just going to cut all these little imperfections in order to square my block nicely, to be precise 10 by 10 inch square. Okay, here. So now we have this block that is basically done with the classical traditional corners that are sewn, and we have still this little one that is done in the Prairie point technique, while here we have this one that is completely not sewn. So we can just do the very close to the edge stitching all around this block just to keep these triangles in place, and then we can use it as it is. So here now I have my 2 blocks, my origami heart blocks together. They're the same, only that they're done a bit differently. This one is done with this no sewing technique. Basically the only sewing that is done is close to the borders. So everywhere around I did this just one seam stitching just to keep everything in place. And actually this seam is not going to be visible, it's going to be hidden by the next block that is going to be sewn to this one into a quilt pattern. And this one is done with traditional piecing corners. So I have cut and squared up my block so that is perfect 10 by 10 inch square, and I did this little stitching here just to set this central triangle to the body of the block. Also, if you want, you can also place a little bit of the fusible tape here in the bottom in order to set this little triangle so that it's placed firmly in place. And I think it's going to be very nice to see the quilting possibilities regarding this bulky little triangle in the center. So I'm not sure if the quilters are going to quilt over it, or maybe just leave it like this, so it's like a little detail in 3D like that.